All right. Started off part one in the present. Now we're going to kick it back, because I'm really curious. After seeing her art, you probably are too. Um, right off, how did you get started? Like, what caught you? The copper part alone in today's modern world. I mean, maybe 150 years ago, even 50, 60 years ago, people would have been doing this because of the technology and everything that they had at the time. But in today's modern world, I seriously can't begin to imagine the amount of work goes into the copper background alone. What, what caught your attention? Why did you decide to start working with, or even experimenting with working with copper as part of a painting?
So there are several reasons, and the one thing that I was looking for before I even started painting on copper was I was looking for a reflective component that utilized light somehow. And there's a lot of ways you could go about that. I mean, I know of an artist who was painting on like mirrored plexiglass for a while. And it was really compelling work, and I thought it was beautiful. There are a lot of artists who use metal leaf, like gold leaf, silver leaf.
Right.
I experimented with some powdered metal. That was a huge flop. Excuse me. And then I knew of several artists who painted on copper, but they didn't. If they let any of it show, it was just through very transparent brush strokes or not at all. And you would never know it was painted on copper if they hadn't specified that it was. So I thought, I wonder if I painted something on copper and then used a subtractive method to actually let the copper show through. I wonder if that would be a successful approach. And it turns out that I really enjoyed the effect that it gave. I like how dynamic it ends up looking. And what I like the most about it probably is that it really does create a variable viewing experience. What I mean by that is, at any given point, say you have one of these pieces hanging in your home, at any given point during the morning, noon or evening, this painting, assuming that you don't have fixed lighting on it, this painting is going to look different depending on the time of day. If you come into my studio here in the morning, you get cool light from my window, and then you get warm light from the spotlights, and it creates this juxtaposition of cool and warm light that makes that background look super 3D and very interesting.
I noticed that I apologize for the interruption, but I really noticed that on First Friday at night, especially when I come in on First Friday, and even from the start, it was like, I really did take notice that where, even looking at the painting right here, when I'm looking at it right now, it's like, okay, you have the 3D effect between the copper and the black, but the copper looks recessed and the black looks the forefront versus at time, somebody could look at it in the evening and the copper would be in the forefront and the black would be in the background. So
yeah,
I did really take notice to that.
Sure. And it just, even as you move around one of these paintings, if you start on one side, say you do like a half circle, an arch around it, the different areas that hit the light and pop out and become visible to your eye change all along the way when you're looking at it. So to me, that was really interesting. That almost makes like a semi-interactive experience of viewing the work. And that's what I wanted. I wanted something that was going to impart the feeling of change, the feeling of dynamic or movement.
Okay, so something that was almost real and almost like alive versus most paintings that, a lot of paintings that's like even abstract ones where it's like, okay, it's a two-dimensional painting. You want something that could almost at times feel alive. Am I correct?
Right. Yeah. I guess sure. And the etchings that I use, I was constantly looking for something that could, in my mind, capture sort of like the emotional reality of the subjects that I was painting. And coming from a realist background was difficult. I was always trying to apply concrete imagery, objects, setting, placement. I was trying to ascribe all of these concrete things to try and illustrate emotion, but the nature of an emotion, the nature of people's inner lives is that it's inherently abstract. And so it took branching out into abstraction a little bit to be able to come to a place where I feel like I'm able to express that a lot better.
Okay.
So that lends itself to the copper motif as well.
Okay. Now, how? At what point? Okay, you said you started off in realism, correct? Or
Say again?
you have a background in realism, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And I hate to ask this standard question, but how long have you actually been doing art? You know, as far as, you know, I'm talking seriously, not, you know, okay, well, when I was a kid and 5 years old, you know, I paint by number with watercolor. How long have you been seriously an art, you know, doing art and been a serious artist? And please
Do you
forgive
mean
me
a
for the way.
professional artist, as in doing
Well,
my
when
own
did you start
work?
taking it seriously versus just, okay, well, I like to do this for fun, and all of a sudden it's like it evolved to, was there a point, or was it just a natural evolution to, okay, well, to give you a good example, when I first started my magazine, okay, I did it as a blog for fun, and then I couldn't tell, if somebody asked me, I couldn't tell you the point where I started taking all this seriously, you know? So, you know, was there a moment where, or a time frame where, okay, well, this is a hobby, but this has become a passion of mine? Or has it always been
It's
like that?
never been a hobby.
Okay.
I mean, it's always been very integral to who I am.
Okay.
I've never felt it was a hobby. I felt like it was more something that I had to do. And I mean, I've always taken it seriously. If you want to know professionally how long I've been doing my own work and kind of marketing it, you know, under my own name, I would say 4 years.
Okay.
But before that, I mean, like you said, you know, people who are artists, they do art all their lives. And
Right.
so I was kind of that way too. And I was fortunate to have a teacher when I was young who taught realism. I mean, I was 7 years old, so I mean,
Okay.
young. But she always instilled in us that it, you know, the lessons that we were taking, they were fun, but they weren't necessarily just meant to be, how would I say it? She encouraged us to take it seriously. She
Okay.
encouraged us to say, you know, if this is a passion of yours and you're good at it, you need to keep working at it. And it's fun, but it's also work, and you need to take it seriously.
Okay.
And so I guess I have taken it seriously all of my life. It's just that whether or not I had the resources when I was younger to really actively pursue it, you know, all the time, it wasn't always the case. It wasn't until after I graduated from college that I really could immerse myself in it the way that I had always wanted to.
Okay. Now, for some people, any form of art, whether it's painting, music, whatever, for some people, it's also like, it sounds to me like are you the type of person where it's like, okay, this is like sometimes even an outlet where I can't say or, you know, do things like, you know, that, you know, and it's like, okay, this is an outlet for me in a way to express what I can't in certain situations. Because I know a lot of artists are like that, where, like with me, when I started writing the poetry, okay, this was a way to express emotions I couldn't because I was a guy, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a component to that. I think, let me see, so I think what I gained from the process is more of like a meditative component.
Okay.
I find that the process of creating the work, which is funny because it is a really labor-intensive process and it does take a long time, but the process is what I enjoy about it. And I'm sure in some ways it's an outlet for what I'm feeling on the inside, but I don't delve into it or analyze it that way.
Okay.
And I'm not identifying emotions within myself and saying I'm going to project that onto mine. Of course, we project everything.
Right.
It's just inherent. But I don't actively analyze, okay, I've created this, what does this mean for me? I've thought about it, but to me it's more important to just present the work, and just see how others are reacting to it, because they're taking the things that they project to the world, and that's how they're viewing the work as well.
Okay.
So I think that the artist's projection onto the work is inherent in every artist out there. you can't really divorce yourself from that. It's
Okay.
just whether or not you're cognizant of it or you're trying to harness that and you're deliberate in creating work that you say, okay, this is bothering me, so I'm going to create work about this.
Right.
Some people are more deliberate about it than others. So, yeah, I don't know if that's a good answer.
Let's put it this way: the best, the good answers are the ones where you're completely honest. You know, if
Well, that's what an honest
giving,
answer.
yeah, giving something scripted, it's like, okay, we're gonna take one more quick break, and we're gonna wind this out with this. The one question I always ask everybody, just because, especially in today's world, where I mean, everybody complains about the oh, we're still in a corporate society. No, we're actually in an indie society. It's just the indies haven't made enough money to level the playing field with the corporate world. You know, am I correct about that? There's so many, whether you're art, small business, whatever, the amount of indies out there, and a lot of cases, it's because of the technology. There's so many indies out there, just can't get the millions of dollars like the corporations do. So, just wind it out with advice to other artists out there, from anybody from, somebody in grade school all the way up to somebody who's retired and said, okay, what do I want to do with my life? Well, I always wanted to try music. I always wanted to, see if I used to paint in college, took stuff like that. Yeah, let's give it a shot. Sound good?
Yeah.